Bass Case Season 2, Episode 30, Form in Music, Part 1. As mentioned many times, I teach at a school. And also, as mentioned, I went to music school. And in those times, and in these times, I've witnessed more than a few, quote, what's happening here events. I've been involved in a few what's happening here events. And the ones I want to talk about are musical ones. And the one I want to get to in this episode is form. And I'm likely speaking to the choir on this, but I don't know. But you need to hear this so that you can have it straight in your head. But here's my thesis. There are a lot of players that play well too, that need some help with the idea of form in music. Form is the structural part of music. It keeps it together. This isn't just some magical thing that happens and we remake the wheel every time, right? We have form, blues form, AABA form, ABAC form. Rhythm changes form. The classical legit cats have sonata form, rondo form, and others. And you want to be aware that these forms are strictly followed. It doesn't matter how beautifully you play or sing. Unless you give a heads up prior to the start of the tune, you must follow the form. You play in a blues, that's usually 12 bars, with rare exceptions. AABA, you got the melody as the first A, and then you get the same 8 bars, usually 8 bars of the melody again for the second A, and then you got the bridge coming in, likely for 8 bars, and then that third A comes in to finish the form, and that's one chorus, right? That's something I spent a little bit of time of teaching my particularly combo students, bass players, the lingo that we use. You know, a chorus is 1 times through the form. And like I mentioned, sonata form, you know, like Mozart uses on Eine kleine Nachtmusik. It's very similar to AABA. Or maybe I should say AABA is very similar to sonata form, being that sonata form has been around for a few centuries. AABA, I think, has just been around since the first part of the 20th century, maybe a little earlier. But just to go through it, sonata form has the first statement of the melody, the theme, right? That's the exposition. And then that is repeated. So the exposition is played twice, you know, kind of very similar to AA of AABA. And then the development happens. The original statement becomes broader, maybe it even goes away for a while. But it's a departure, like the bridge, like the B of AABA. You know, the bridge, we need it. We need a break from that double statement of the exposition. We need a break from the AAs. And then in sonata form, there's the recapitulation, the recap, the bringing back of the exposition, you know, that first A, that first statement of the theme. And then in most cases, there's a coda or a codetta. And like in jazz and rock styles, that's a tag that, you know, like that cool tag in Black Orpheus that signifies the ending of the tune without bringing back previously played melodies or melodic content. And bass players are very in tune with form. We've got to be. We've got to follow the form, right? If you break the form, you've got all kinds of problems on your hands. If you're playing Satin Doll and you're finishing up the section A, the second A section, you better be moving to the bridge. If you play the third A, things are not going to go well for you. And yesterday in my studio, I was talking with a student, that was getting lost in the form that we were running. And that's how it's put. You're getting lost in the form. If you're playing a tune like Softly as in a Morning Sunrise, an AABA tune, in which the A sections are merely a 1 chord to a 2/5, as simple as it sounds, you've got to stay alert. That's easy to drop the bridge during solos. It's an amazing fact, but the simpler the tune, the easier it is to have a problem. But regardless, you and you only are responsible for the form. Or let me put it another way. Every player on the bandstand is responsible for keeping the form. Now that brings me to during your bass solo. During your bass solo and the keys player or the guitarist isn't giving you much, you've got to keep the form. It's not his or her fault that you lost the form during your solo. It's on you. You've got to find a way in your bass solo to keep that form just like you kept it while you were walking changes. Now, I see a lot of players, and I'm not just talking about bass players, all kinds of players, stopping their solo, winding out their solo with a lot of form left. You know, they've taken a chorus and they go into the second chorus, and then after a couple A's, they drop out. Oh no, what's the problem? Lost in the form. You have got to know where you are in the form at all times. Knowing what form is that you're dealing with is the beginning of solving these problems. Sometimes you can get some help. You know, horn players in my bands, they're trained to drop background figures into the mix, usually during the last chorus of solos. And they even do it for the bass and drum solos. I think that's helpful. It sounds good too. It gives the horn player something to do. A drummer dropping a press roll or fill to end the form and get to the next form. Please do this. You, the bass player, walking the last 2 bars of your solo. Yes, please let the band know that your solo is finished. It sounds simple, but you must know where you are in the form to do this, which means you must be aware of the changes, bar by bar. This is total situational awareness. If you have questions, email me at phil@basscase.co. I'll talk to you soon.